There was always going to be a bit of question about how controversial this would be in terms of the TzekHaar marketplace editions. Specifically in that, first, they updated the way that all the Zuck capes look this week. But secondly, they added a series of paid overrides that you can buy. They added an Infernal Igneous override that looks like OSRS's Inferno cape. How do we feel about that? Bears, I know you picked these up. What's your favorite? What's your thoughts on this monetization?
I like it. I think it's healthier for the game than um Scale of Fortune and the Wheel, whatever the other one was. So I think as a community we voted for this sort of monetization, and I feel like, especially on an Iron Man where GP doesn't matter, I was happy to buy a couple bonds to get one of the capes, and like it looks good. And so I think they need to realize that people are willing to pay for this sort of stuff, and that this is how the community wants the MTX to keep moving forward. But overall, I think they also just look good, and that's going to be a big part of how they will get people to purchase this stuff. Is they got to make sure the quality is very high.
What do you think, Zant, in terms of the graphical direction they went on this?
Well, they look great. I think all of them just look awesome. I mean, I'm honestly not the biggest fan of the Infernal Cape, but it's a huge nostalgic thing to a lot of people who play old school, so I understand that. But I think for me, just functionally, this solves kind of a problem I've had with cosmetic capes in the past, where I don't want to wear them because they're not really tied to any achievement I've gotten. This allows a bit of customization that still kind of references an achievement that you've gotten. So, I mean, that's why I've always in my 120 div cape. And I mean, I'd love to wear a rainbow cape, but I'm not going to because I don't get to stare at my div cape that I grinded for. And I think this is honestly a very nice creative way to incentivize people to buy cosmetics outside of them just being nice looking cosmetics. But it also doesn't really like provide extra achievement that you purchased the cape. It's just pointing at, hey, look at me, I killed Zuck on hard mode with these requirements and decided to get a different cape for it.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things I wanted to bring up with this is that you do need to have actually owned the capes in order to get one. So you can't just have somebody who decides they can't kill Zuck and ultimately, go and get the Inferno cape as a
Yeah.
variant of
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, and I think that just gives players who have that cape another reason to want to buy it. And initially, when I saw them doing this, I thought it was strange that they're kind of limiting the potential market for this item in that regard. Like, you have to have the Kalzuk to even buy that cape right there. But I think that's actually going to incentivize more purchases because it's not just some random cape. It's actually tied to something you've done, like I said.
Right. It's in some ways it's kind of a marketing tool. It's an
Hmm.
incentives to say, oh, you really like this. Well, here's how you get it.
And also, I think it's an excellent precedent to be updating the capes that the alternative capes to this that you just get from in-game while they're releasing these. I hope that continues.
right,
Like, I
because there
hope there's
was
no
a
situation where like base fire cape stays the same and we get some crazy fire cape variants. I mean,
because you
fire
remember
cape,
when
maybe bad
those
example, but
other capes came out, when Zuck first came out, you were actually on that Zuck episode, I think. Um, that we all said the capes really didn't look that great for that era of design,
Yeah, they
and
were quite blocky, quite
that had
ugly.
always been a piece of feedback on that. So
yeah, I'm thinking they're even with just the marginal changes they made this week, it's improved a lot. Like they sit much nicer on the shoulders. I mean, I've always thought the pattern on the back, like with the lava kind of oozy kind of look with the glow coming through, was really cool. But yeah, they always looked like a like a surfboard on your back, sort of.
Yeah.
Zerdones, how do you feel about the inspirations from OSRS?
I don't For me, I don't care because I don't play old school and I have no particular nostalgia for the Inferno Cape. The thing that keeps getting me is who is it for? Because it's not for old school players. At least I would hope it's not for old school players, because those seem to be the ones that I've seen who are reacting the most negatively to this. Because I have seen a fair bit of negative feedback. I don't know if it's like a large proportion of the overall response, but I've seen a fair bit of negative feedback to this cosmetic release, and specifically the fact that it is tied to an in-game achievement, with some people complaining that it devalues combat achievements by incentivizing Jagex to put cosmetic rewards behind paywalls as opposed to in-game accomplishments, which,
How does that
to be
devalue an
fair,
achievement, though?
I think that position is stupid,
Okay.
but it exists. And maybe I'm being uncharitable by saying this. I suspect that opinion will be more prevalent in the old school community, where they do seem to have a very strong reaction against this kind of monetization, or any kind of monetization.
The reason they say that is because there's a Blood Torva override, as an example, on OSRS that you get from doing an achievement like that. Whereas they're saying, oh, well, RS3 just sells it.
Well, I mean, in an ideal world, I would expect to have that in RS3, but we have to make up all the revenue that is lost from Treasure Hunter, and I don't think just, run-of-the-mill direct purchase cosmetics that have no tie to actual in-game items are as incentivizing as something like this. Like, I could see this as being a system for these kind of purchases in the future that actually does drive more revenue specifically from cosmetics. So, I mean, in an ideal world, yeah, I would want the variants to be just unlocked from in-game, but in terms of the way they could be monetizing this game, I think this is one of the more friendly ways they could go about it.
I also think, like, on a practical level, for several reasons, one of which being just the fact that RS3 has to make money where it can, and also because it's more expensive to make cosmetics for RS3 than it is for old school. The choice in RS3 isn't between Blood Torva from hard mode next or whatever versus Blood Torva sold through the shop. The choice is Blood Torva sold through the shop or no Blood Torva.
Yeah. And back to the question about, like, who is this for? I mean, I think there's a lot of nostalgia just around the Fire Cape, even in RuneScape 3. And I think it kind of taps into that a little bit with this Infernal Cape. It looks very similar, just a different color scheme.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what makes me want to purchase that one if I ever get the Kalzak. And that's why I kind of wish there was a necromancy purple version I could just wear everywhere, because it is almost like personalized, nostalgic-ish version of that same old Fire Cape that I still think is super cool,
And the other thing I wanted to bring up with all of this is that there is no world where a cosmetic override like this brings in as much revenue as running Smoldering Lamps or a new rare item over Treasure Hunter did. There is no world where those compete and are equal.
No, you need to have a lot of these constantly.
Yeah, we can maybe get close-ish if there's enough volume of this kind of stuff being released to the point where, what we got, like, cool looking, I don't know, different tier 90 armor sets that have different looks to them and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of potential here.
The other thing that I saw, and this is reminiscent of how things went previously in the previous era of Squeal and Treasure Hunter, is that this is boiling the frog again. In that Squeal of Fortune started small, morphed into Treasure Hunter, and became more egregious over the years, right? The other analogy I saw this week is that this is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to these sorts of monetization items. First, this one's tied to an achievement in game. Then, following from that, you realize that this one they did a gesture of goodwill with this, where it's going to be available 100% of the time. It's not going to disappear at all from the market. It's not. They were very clear about that. But imagine a world going forward where to bring money in from these sorts of cosmetics, the following happens. They go on a rotation that they're available. We've already seen that happen a bit with some of the other items that are, phased in and phased out. But let's say we get to a point where people have to start buying random chance boxes again. But this time there are only cosmetics in there. No in-game items that can disrupt anything. How would we feel about that if this game got to a point where its monetization model, one of them, was like the Fortnites or the Overwatches of the world, where there were those gamble boxes, but they were just cosmetics only, available at a very high price point because of that gamble mechanic, and then phased out. That was the other thing I saw this week, is that people were worried we're headed back down that direction of boiling the frog.
I mean, personally, I don't care. Gamble on cosmetics.
Because the game has to have a way to make money, right?
Well, yeah.
I think my general response to people who are worried about that kind of thing is that this sort of monetization is always a two-asshole system. There's the asshole who's selling it, and there's the asshole who's buying it. So if you don't like it, don't buy it.
I can't see this going the route of literally being loot boxes again. I probably wouldn't mind if it did, but I don't know, games like CSGO, there's a bit of an economy around that. So like what happens in RuneScape when you just pull a bunch of duplicates? I mean,
right.
There would need to be something kind of figured out to even facilitate that. But I think the more immediate concern I have about this is if these set a precedent of just looking way, way, way better than the in-game version, which I don't think they're setting that precedent here at all, because they updated the just, the Calzuck cape in general. And I personally don't think these look, I think whether you think it looks better or not is completely subjective at where we are now. There's no kind of like fidelity difference going on here.
They're more ornate, but they're not better necessarily.
Exactly. Like, it's flashier for sure, but that doesn't necessarily make it just better. Yeah. I'd be more also concerned if they go down more of a FOMO limited time route with this, which I honestly did expect with how they treated more recent cosmetic drops, and
like the sandwich outfit
phased out. Is that one of the ones that got phased out?
I think so,
that's the one that I think it just left recently, and that was my concern as well.
Yeah, so I mean, if they went down that route with this, I'd start having a bit more of an issue with it. But the in-game achievement thing, I think I like that more than anything, because if there comes out a cape that I actually like the appearance of, and it is just an alternate cape of some other one I have in the game, I would probably actually wear that now, instead of it just replacing whatever achievement cape I've already had just because it looks good.
Here's an idea that'll sell buckets. You ready for this?
Oh no.
Alternate 99 and 120 skill capes.
That's something I kind of thought about. But I think if they just did that and kept the existing modern skill capes looking like they do, problem. I think they all look terrible nowadays, honestly.
Yeah, just give them cloth physics and that would be good enough, right?
No, bring back the colored tassels in the front. Like,
oh, right.
Like that was the coolest part of them in the shoulder pads. Yeah, like, come on.
Princess Di shoulder pads.
Oh, if we ever meet up, we have to have 80s night then, right?
I personally can't think of anything. Yeah, I guess that's a little weird, but I don't think that's problematic. Like, I can't really think of any item in the game that they could do this with that I would just have a problem with, unless they're making a version that is definitely the higher fidelity version.
Yeah.
Like, if they kept skill capes the way they are, and the new ones that you buy are just this crazy nice looking version with cloth physics and everything, and it's got more functionality to it and more tech that went into it, then yeah, that's pretty not great. And this also, maybe a little bit of a side thing, but this also like makes me wonder about what the future of those like the cosmetic packs of like re-releases of some of the armor that did get like a major fidelity increase. Like what happens with that? Because that's kind of this other weird system now that we have this kind of thing going on.
Like
Yeah,
the rune
like
armor
the
and whatnot.
yeah, like the
Yeah,
god
like
armors.
yeah. I couldn't think of the exact name off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the
those
dragon.
it makes that system feel a little bit odd now. And I mean, I always hated that they don't update the in-game model, but I'm just really glad that they are bringing things up to match the fidelity level of these. That's great. That it makes it basically it's not the same issue we had with the God armors where you're getting a version that is paid only and is probably just how that armor should look in game no matter whether it's paid or not at this current year.
They also added the TzekHaar bundle, which includes the Lava Trail, the TzekHaar Spear, the TzekHaar
Ooh.
Guard, so bringing that same sort of flame style into necromancy. Though keep in mind, if you were running the purple necromancy cape, that would clash. So I guess the idea behind this is you would run the TzekHaar Guard and Lantern with either the full-on Igneous override or the Inferno override for that.
Now that you say that, I am surprised they didn't make those purple. I hadn't
And
thought
Right.
about that before, but
also
now
the
that you say
TzekHaar
it,
crossbow.
Or just like recolorable to, the four colors.
yeah,
Because that should be simple, right, Zant? It's just like applying a color shift to change
Yeah,
this
I'd
from orange
assume
to
it would be.
purple.
I mean, yeah, I'd assume it would just be like sort of like a material instance of the base one that they use that's applied to all of them. And they just have to
Yeah.
apply that same kind of thing to the cosmetics.
So, all right. Anything else on that? Because I feel like it's not controversial, but there's a portion of the community that wants it to be controversial.
I will say they are expensive.
They
And
are.
I personally find the fact that the Kalzuk cape itself is like it's the same price as the bundle. Like I don't understand why the higher achieving cape is more expensive for some reason.
Because it's
I
shiny.
think they should have just sold each. I think they should have just sold each individual cape for a lower rune coin price. And also, it is a rune coin price that requires you to buy, like, I think the 800 rune coin pack if you don't already have some, which isn't that the $20 US one?
Yeah,
So
something like that.
functionally, these are $20 if you just want to buy one.
Which
Yeah, that's a lot for a
did
cape.
we ever
Like, that puts
imagine
the
we would
sandwich
be?
lady outfit, a run for its money. I mean,
Did we ever imagine we'd be in a world where you would have single cosmetics like this that would be worth that much in RS3?
no, that seems very expensive to me. In fact, if there is any issue I have with that, yeah, that's it.
All right. Bears or don'ts? Anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
I don't care.
Yeah.
If you like them, I'm happy for you. Buy them. Buy all the things. Give Jagex your money. Help them
Alrighty.
keeping the game running.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see where all that lands as time goes on.